Good morning, America, family, friends, and anyone else that's watching. So, I just had a few thoughts. They were brought on by, like, if you're in the gun business, you know who Jeff is over at Gun Blast. He passed away. It's either yesterday or the day before yesterday. But anyway, caused me to think a little bit about mortality, which then caused me to think about failure, which then caused me to think about alternate realities. So, first, I want to talk about mortality. We are all humans on this planet. Everything on planet Earth that is alive dies. It's an unfortunate reality. We don't know what comes afterwards. We don't know if reincarnation is real. Um, if you're a person of faith, your ideals are that you're going to end up going to heaven. If you've lived your life right and that kind of stuff. But aside of any of the religious type things, here's the deal. Our lifetimes are really short. An average 75 to 80 years is the average lifespan of a human. Believe it or not, there's a lot of stuff you can do in that 75 to 80 years if you put your mind to it. So the thing is, time's ticking. It doesn't stop. It's never going to stop. Unless by some miracle of science and mathematics and physics and magic, whatever, we end up with time travel where you can do things that you wanted to do, in a specific time, or if you could send a note to yourself or something like that. Or maybe if we figure out a way to regenerate cells like some animals do, like turtles, they live a long time. Their metabolism is really slow. And there are some animals out there, lizards or whatever, they can regenerate stuff. If we can learn how to regenerate cells, make our lifespans longer, that's a little bit different. But point is, if there's something in your brain that you want to do, my advice is to get out and do it. Do it. Don't waste any time. I've spent a lifetime of saying, I don't have time to do this and I don't have time to do that. And as I look back, there's a ton of stuff that I wish I had done that I never did. And there's a lot of stuff that I did that I wasn't any good at. And instead of, following through and trying it again, I basically ended up, looking at other things to do, which is fine. That was kind of my choice. Which brings me to failure. Don't be afraid to fail at whatever it is that's in your brain. If you fail at it, try again. Try a different strategy. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. There's a ton of people in this world that when you talk to them, the first thing out of their mouth is, I know, I know, I know. If everybody knew everything that they say I know about, man, we'd be some smart people. But I learned a long time ago, it's easy enough to say, I don't know. I say a lot. But every single time I say I don't know, I find that it's an opportunity for me to learn something. So the next time I can say, I do know. I know about that. Here's why, The other thing that it's done for me is I like all kinds of stuff. I'm not limited to, a very narrow-minded way of thinking about things that I like. So in other words, I like firearms. I've been in the gun business a long time. I like knives. I like hunting. I like fishing. But I also like science. And I like stars. Like last night, the wife and I and our kid went out and parked in a remote part of town where there's not a lot of people and not a lot of lights. And we laid in the bed of the truck and we watched the stars. And, we've seen, there's supposed to be a meteor shower going on, and we've seen quite a few meteors. And but we also see satellites. And then we saw something last night that was pretty weird. Could have been a UFO. Who knows? I don't know. But it didn't look like an airplane. It wasn't acting like an airplane, and the lights on it weren't anything like an airplane. So could have been a satellite, could have been a weather balloon, could have been all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, we didn't know what it is, so it's UFO, right? Anyway, but I like that kind of stuff, And but don't narrow your view of things to a degree where you're limited. Do stuff. Do a lot of stuff. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is a learning device. It's a tool that teaches you how to succeed. I mean, think about this. Think about when early man was first becoming man and not primate. When we were moving out of that animal mindset into a thinking, cognitive reasoning being. What if the person that was inventing the wheel couldn't get it right, went, ah, shit, we're not doing that. We might be driving around on square tires. Or what if early man, when they discovered fire, went, crap, we're staying away from that. There's absolutely no reason to mess with that. You know, what would the earth be like now? I mean, what would we be like? What if early man in general, all of them as a species or race or whatever you want to call it, what if they all just decided to be animals and not learn to use tools, not learn to hunt? What if we just foraged and we could all be scavengers? I mean, so failure is okay. It's a tool that teaches you how to succeed. So fail a lot, learn from it, and then you can succeed. That's going to bring me to my next little thing here, which is alternate realities. So those of you that know me know I was in the military for a while. My career in the military didn't end up where I wanted it to be. You know, I spent quite a few years in the military between, you know, National Guard and active duty and whatever. I really wanted to retire from the military, and when I didn't, it was due to some health reasons. And I feel like a failure. I felt like a failure at that for a long time. For quite a few years after the military, I spent some time drunk, trying to find my way, trying to figure out what I should do, you know, why I failed, what can I do to redeem myself, not to anyone else but to me, you know, and just not to anyone else, just me. But here's the thing. Had my military not finished the way that it did, I would never have met my wife. My child Cecilia would not have been born. And it would be a vastly different world for me. Who knows what would have happened, you know? Who knows? So here's the thing about the alternate reality. If you're a young person, every decision that you make is basically a fork in the road that leads to different realities, right? So had I stayed in the military and been fit, you know, health-wise enough to continue on and retire from the military like I wanted to, my world today would be vastly different than it is. It would be, in essence, an alternate reality than today. So when you make choices, and I don't mean choices like what cell phone to buy or which new car you want or, man, do these shoes look good on my feet or that kind of stuff. I mean choices, like real life choices. When you make choices, career changes, when you make choices in finances, when you make choices in geographical locations, in other words, if you're moving, when you make choices about who your life partner is going to be, when you make choices about children or anything that's life changing, just be aware that there's going to be an alternate reality that's going to occur. It's going to pop up and it's going to be like, oh, well, this is different, right? So when you're old like me and you look back on your life, don't look back and say stuff like, God, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, my father-in-law likes to say, if, you know, wishes were fishes, we'd all have a tank full. And he's absolutely right. We would. But here's the thing. Don't be afraid of alternate realities. Just make sure you think them through before you take that step, because it could change something down the road, and will. You know, like I said, if I'd have done things differently early on in life, man, I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have my kid. Things would be different. It might be a different wife and a different kid. I might be single still, you know, at my age. Who knows? But I wouldn't trade what I have now for any of that stuff that I woulda, coulda, or shoulda done back in the day. I wouldn't trade it, you know. The thing is, you know, as a person, I'm to a point in my life where I like me. I have my own code, and I live by that code. And day in, day out, I try to do the right thing always. I try to treat people the way I want to be treated. But that being said, I will tell you for sure, I don't think I could have found a better woman than my wife, you know? And it all has to do with the choices that I made back in the day. You know, if I hadn't made those choices, it wouldn't have led me to this one spot. It would have led me somewhere else. So that's the thing about alternate realities. And when you combine the three of those, mortality, failure, and alternate realities, you know, that's life. And all of those, depending on the choices that you make, lead to your success. So keep your head up, stay safe, stay alert, stay alive. Today's a great day, and we'll see you next time.